prayerfully seek divine permission to start this session. Pray to our beloved Bhagavan to guide us at every step to the journey to him. Revered Sanjay Sahni sir, revered teachers, sisters and brothers, loving Sairam to all of you. As a student, as a teacher, as an administrator of the university, Sathya Sai University, the Institute of Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Sanjay Sahni sir is fully molded by our beloved Bhagavan. Sir served the institute as a teacher, as the director of the campus, warden, and then controller of exams of Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. It's a great blessing that we are getting Swami Siddhi Sanjay Sahni sir to address us. And on behalf of Sathya Sai Seva organization, and on behalf of all the members present here, we extend to you, sir, a very loving, respectful welcome. I take this opportunity to welcome all the teachers and thank you so much for joining. And I pray to Bhagavan to bless all of you. And one humble request, please off all the videos. Otherwise, because the number is more, there may be disturbance when sir is talking. Please keep the videos off. Please keep the videos off. Thank you so much. On behalf of all of you, I request Sanjay Sahni sir to address us. After sir address, there will be a question and answer session. And if all the questions cannot be answered within half an hour, all the questions will be answered by sir through the Sathya Sai teacher cell group, and you will be getting all the answers. And you can message the question so that the IT team will collect all these messages and share with Sanjay Sahni sir for answering the question. Thank you very much. Jai Sai Ram. Professor Sanjay Sahni sir.
Thank you, Mukundan sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll just upload my presentation. Just give me a minute.
May I request all respected teachers to keep the video off? Please keep the video off.
Is my presentation visible, sir?
Not yet, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Visible. Visible.
So offering my loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet, esteemed Mukundan sir and all our teacher brothers and sisters who have joined us for this Google Meet on a topic which is very dear to our founder chancellor of the university, Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. The teacher as a role model. And as colleagues in this profession, it would be my endeavor to today to share actually Bhagwan's thoughts and Bhagwan's expectations, how he has guided teachers in his university, and how we can find fulfillment in our own careers, in our own lives, in the role that we play. One of the important facets of Bhagwan Baba's mission was to restore in society the status of the teacher and the teaching profession. And he has spent hours speaking to the teachers of his university. In fact, he has given so many discourses, and there was a very distinguished professor in our university who led a team of faculty who did research on Bhagwan's teachings for teachers. And it is my endeavor today to share some of the insights from that research publication, which has now become, for the university, the code of conduct for the faculty. It's available on our university's website as well. And this will be the focus in today's session. And in the next session, our discussion would be on how teachers can create role models for society. So with these preliminary thoughts, let us plunge into this beautiful document. So Swami says, my sankalpa, when he set up his educational institutions, he had a vision. He was a 14-year-old boy when he returned from school, threw away the books, and he said, I am leaving. My devotees are waiting for me. And that little act as a 14-year-old boy, this is not the education system that the world needs. In my mission, I will create a model education system of how education today should reflect both the needs of society and the purpose of life that every individual is supposed to achieve. So Swami says, my sankalpa is to provide the youth with an education which, while cultivating their intelligence, will also purify their impulses and emotions and equip them with the physical and mental disciplines needed for drawing upon the springs of calmness and joy that lie in their own hearts. Their higher natures will have to be fostered and encouraged to blossom by means of study. So he does not keep away the academic study as well as the study of spiritual heritage of India. Through prayer and sadhana, exposure to the sages, saints, and spiritual heroes and heroines of their land. The teaching of the university curricula is only the means employed for the end, namely spiritual uplift, self-discovery, and social service through love and detachment. So this is his opening vision. What should an education system serve? See, there are two aspects of how a society or any generation should mold its younger generation. First, it should give them wings. Second, they should give them roots. The wings depend on the aspiration you instill in the young minds that the thought that the sky is the limit for what they can achieve. And depending on the needs of society, how we can reach out to great heights in various domains of professional life as well as societal community living. But it is also the responsibility of every generation to give the younger generation roots. They should have a strong clinging to the roots of the society, which has been passed on through the centuries from generation to generation. The culture of the land and Indian culture is a value-based culture. It has a very, very strong bias for spiritual heritage, and that should be embedded in the education system of our country. So Swami says the purpose of education is to help students to cultivate self-knowledge. They should become aware of themselves. And it should make them confident. We should understand that we are not in the business of teaching students physics or chemistry or social science or this subject or that subject. We are in the business of instilling in each child who comes to us the spirit of being self-confident and self-reliant. How we do it? The curricula, the extracurricular, the co-curricular is only a means to that end. So we should not forget this fundamental thrust, which Swami makes it his very first purpose of education. Hanumanji was a great personality, but he also had to be reminded by Jambavad of his capability. And the moment he became aware of his abilities, that is how he made that great leap from India to Lanka and fulfilled the mission on which Rama had dispatched him to find Sita and get her whereabouts. So that each one can learn self-sacrifice and find fulfillment in earning self-realization. See, this is not only Swami's words. This is the wisdom of India. This is how great sages who were the educators of our society in Vedic times, they have instilled in every citizen of our country. Swami is just reiterating, reminding us that this is the purpose of education. To impart true ideal education and mold thousands of students as ideal citizens for the service of the country. To equip them for the role of future leaders of India as persons of integrity and character, as embodiments of truth, justice, peace, and love. Jesus Christ said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." No matter which community, which organization, which society future takes them to, the students should be able to spread joy, to become a source of peace and harmony wherever life takes them, to be an ideal institution for others. Swami is referring to our university. He said it should be a role model. The institution also should be a role model for others. It must be distinct from the rest and attain a unique status. And finally, to blossom as true representatives of Bharatiya Samskriti, spreading tolerance, charity, and brotherhood throughout the world. Our Prime Minister, keeps talking of Vishwa Guru Bharat. Vishwa Guru, because every country is known for some speciality. What is India known for? Through the centuries, it is her spiritual heritage, her spiritual wisdom, and that is what the world needs all the more today. And education should provide its young, budding citizens a deep attachment and deep rooting in Bharatiya Samskriti. This is a quote of Swami. He began one of his discourses with this poem, Nahum Manushyo Nachadeva Yaksha. I am not a man, god or angel. Na Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. I am not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Na Brahmachari, Grihi, Vanastha. You cannot classify me into any of the four categories of the ashramas: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. Then Swami, who are you? Aham, Satya Bodhaka. Among all the professions of the world, Bhagwan identifies himself with the teaching profession. What a raising of the status of the teaching. That Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba says, I am a teacher and my subject is truth. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. This is what his whole life was all about. My life is my message. What kind of a teacher is Bhagwan Baba? Among teachers, I am the physical instructor. And this is where the importance of our today's topic comes into play. There are different kinds of teachers. They have different pedagogy in delivering their subject. But Bhagwan Baba says, among teachers, I'm the physical instructor. What does the physical instructor do? He raises his hand up, down, right, left, and seeing him, the students also, his wards also start following. So he gives instruction with the mouth and he demonstrates through his physical movements. He says, that kind of a teacher I am. And any person who is keen on promoting value education, promoting the young students in the right direction based on the heritage of India, has to keep in mind that they too need to be role models, as Bhagwan has identified. Now, these are general guidelines for teachers. He says, my entire property consists of my students. You think of the properties, the buildings, land. He said, no, that is not my property. My only property is my students. And he would often remind the students that, the teachers, that their children can be, called as Kamaputras, children born of desire, but their students are Premaputras, children born of love. And this is something which he underlined, that you are literally like a parent for your students. The teacher dedicates himself or herself to a great sadhana when she enters upon this profession. They have to be what they advise the pupils to be. And this is where, in the very second dictum, he says teachers need to be role model for the students. This is the only way in which value education can be imparted. See, many of us are parents. We know if we want our own children to adopt a certain kind of practice, we first demonstrate it to them. So that is why it's so important that precept is important, but also practice. And teachers must be examples of sincerity, simplicity, mutual cooperation and love. Respect from students, he says, must be commanded by personal example rather than demanded from them. So I was talking to one of our human values teachers the other day. He's 80 years old today, and he spoke to our students just a few days back. And he was remembering how every class that he would start with, every batch of students he would start with, one of his former students, who was then in the second year and then went on to third year, he would come to the class and he would tell, if you have not interacted, if you have not listened to this teacher, what you have missed in life, you cannot imagine. So this was the introduction this particular student would give to every new batch that this teacher would teach. So what I mean to say is that once we make an impact on a student, the respect and gratitude comes automatically. And it comes by setting a personal example. You don't have to demand respect. You will earn that respect. Then Bhagwan says teaching is a sacred duty. Teachers must dedicate their learning and wisdom to the great task of uplifting pupils to the higher levels of knowledge and action. They must shape them into useful, patriotic, worthy citizens, reflecting the culture and traditions of the country. So love for mother and love for motherland, both has to be instilled in the younger generation. And this is the sacred duty of every teacher. Teachers should not confine themselves only to the classrooms. See, today in modern education, this particular realization is dawning on educationists all over the world. If you interact with them only in the classroom, your influence, your impact is that much more limited. But there is the corridor in the school or in the college. There is the campus. There is also the home. There are so many activities which students engage in outside the classroom, co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities. So as teachers, we should identify what is the special caliber of students, unfold their talents and skills, and recognize their latent potentialities. Apart from the classroom, teachers must interact with the student in other activities, including service activities. The service activities may be in the campus. It could be even in the community. And if it's a residential system, it would also involve activities in the hostel. So to encourage them, to enthuse them, to guide them, increase the number of touch points. They may be having, say, a sports competition. If a teacher were to be there when, say, the students are playing a volleyball match or a kho match, it encourages, oh, my teacher is there, and it brings out much greater heights of achievement and excellence. So we should not restrict ourselves only to the classroom. Some programs in the university, and it could be also the school, this is very characteristic of Swami's educational institutions, are designed to instill faith and spiritual discipline. Teachers too must have interest in prayers and other items of special importance. So, things like celebrating Independence Day, Republic Day, when we celebrate it with our students, or when we start our daily school or college with prayer, thinking for a few seconds about the Lord who has blessed us with innumerable gifts, these are meant for the emancipation not only of the students, but also for the teachers, and teachers should evince interest in this. Then he comes to a very important instruction. In this institute, the medium of instruction is discipline. One day I remember when I was a young faculty, Bhagwan was speaking to the students, to the teachers in our Prashantanilayam college, and he said, see, all of you have great attachment to your respective subjects. I also have a subject, and my subject is discipline. And I want that each one of you take as much interest in your subject as you should in my subject. So teachers must not give too much freedom to students. They should do what is good for them, what in Vedic terminology is called Shreyas, rather than what is liked by them, prayers. But it should be coupled with love and care. This kind of a gentle guidance, direction that we give to our students should be coupled with love and care. And when you have love and care in your heart, the response of the students is going to be very, very different. A teacher should bring to the notice of the students their mistakes. See, a time has come where sometimes we feel hesitant whether we can tell students their faults. But as elders, it is our duty and responsibility to point out to the students where they are going wrong. It's not just in the studies or the academics, so that they become an asset to themselves. Their capabilities can blossom to its full. And that can happen only if somebody is willing to point out to them. And we must recognize that after a certain age, parents who were the first gurus for a student, the teachers take their place. And so when a teacher says something, the students will accept it, and students will give great importance to those words. The teacher will ruin the life of students if he ignores their faults and continues speaking only good about them. So don't only speak about their good qualities. Yes, in fact, we should start with highlighting to them some of their good features, but also when they go wrong, when they deviate from what is expected, we should not hesitate to correct them. Teachers should never tolerate students guilty of, note these words, alakshyam, negligence, avinayam, disobedience, vidya dadati vinayam. The first fruit of education is vinaya. There was this professor in Harvard, and he was so popular. At the end of his course, at the end of the year, he would give a special lecture, and students from all other courses would come and join because he would be talking about life. So the editor of the Harvard Business Review, he sort of felt so enamored of this development, and he asked him to jot down what were the key ideas which he was sharing. So I read that article in the Harvard Business Review. And one of the points which he says to his students at Harvard is that cultivate humility. If you lack humility, you tend to learn only from people whom you think are superior to you. But if you have humility, you will learn from anybody and everybody you meet in life. Imagine how exponentially your ability to learn, your learning capability will get enhanced when you cultivate humility. So, avinayam is not a characteristic which youngsters should have. Even as we grow in age, we need to cultivate ahankara, ego, asuya, jealousy, asabhyata, lack of social etiquette. So these are some words which Swami identifies as we should be very, very watchful of and do the needful in terms of correcting students when the occasion arises. The teacher should not cultivate divisive traits. Along with the acquisition of secular knowledge, they should turn inward and acquire spiritual knowledge. Only then they can achieve unity and harmony. So, to divide people just to, it could be in the student community, it could be in the teaching community, it is not a good trait. It will not do us any good. It will not do our students any good. So therefore, that kind of a unifying mindset is there for a teacher who is having some spiritual inclination. So that is why Bhagavan says, turn inward. And what does it mean to be spiritual? In many spiritual paths across cultures, you need not be spending 24 times in what you consider spiritual. In Indian culture, we have what is called as Brahma Muhurtam, the time between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. In this time frame, Brahma Muhurtam, can we spend 15 to 20 minutes? It is your time with your higher self, with God, whatever you call it, your higher consciousness. Even 15-20 minutes if we spend, it will have tremendous impact on our inner psyche, and it will manifest in our activities throughout the day. Teachers should avoid politics while in service. See, we have to be a role model for the students. See, this is not to say that as young as adults, we should not be in politics. That is part of our fundamental right. But if you're a teacher, if you want to be an example for your students, then this advice, at least for Swami schools and colleges, Swami was very, very clear. Do not indulge in politics. Focus on your task at hand. See, we have had great examples. For example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was a teacher. He was such a great freedom fighter. And it is to him that we attribute this statement, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. And one day somebody asked him, what happens once India gets Swaraj? What will you do after that? He said, once India gets Swaraj, once India becomes free, I will go back to my teaching profession and do teaching again. Abdul Kalam, Dr. Abdul Kalam, the missile man of India, he was president of India. When somebody asked him, sir, when you step down as a president, what would you like to do? And this is what Abdul Kalam said, I would like to be a teacher. And you know how not only during his presidential years, but even post, how much time he has spent with the students. In fact, the last moment of his life was spent at IIT Guwahati. He was addressing the students, and in the course of his talk, he collapsed. So great teachers have kept students in mind, giving them the best and not getting distracted by other extraneous matters. When other colleges deem their existence fulfilled when the curriculum is taught, this college considers the development of self-reliance, self-confidence, self-sacrifice, self-knowledge as the basic curriculum. So some subjects, are compulsory in the curriculum. Some subjects are optional, but Bhagwan says that the compulsory subjects in our educational system, self-reliance, how to make the student dependent. I used to always tell, for example, the boy students that don't think cooking is only a woman's job. Learn cooking. Tomorrow you will be posted somewhere in Europe, somewhere in Japan, and you will find very difficult to get your kind of food, vegetarian food. So therefore, if you learn cooking, you will be self-reliant. Wherever you go, you will be able to manage your affairs yourself. So cultivation of basic skills in the world as well as for the inner world are very, very important. Those who draft the syllabi and curricula for the institute must be imbued with reverence for our national culture, which is really pure international culture. When I was a student in school, one of my greatest memories is that in our languages, especially I studied Hindi, and we used to have these NCERT books, and that is where I got the first exposure to the teachings and the sayings of the great saints of India, Mirabai and Kabir Das, Surdas, Tulsi Das. And later on in life, in those days, we learnt it as a poem, but as a text. But later on, we realized through life the validity of those. So we should expose through our curriculum design our students to our national culture, where they can be proud of belonging to India. And that is the true international culture, Bhagwan says. Sri Sathya Sai education imparts practical knowledge, while modern education teaches only bookish knowledge. So this is something which educationists are realizing, and our new education policy, which has been introduced by the current government, underlines this. Knowledge is not enough. We must translate that knowledge into skill. And today, practical knowledge is so very crucial. In every subject you teach, we should have some skills which we impart to the student, so that the concepts that have been taught become very, very firm in their understanding and part of their permanent memory. But do not ignore bookish knowledge. Modern education is also required because the former grants us spiritual happiness and the latter grants worldly happiness. So we have to equip our students for the world also. We are not preparing our students to go into the forest and become Mahatmas isolated from society. They have to live in the world. But how to live in the world without harming oneself, without harming others, that requires a spiritual bent of mind. So modern education gives us livelihood, whereas Sri Sathya Sai education leads us to the ultimate goal of life. The two constitute the two sides of the same coin. Then he says, avoid bad habits that are injurious to health. Welcome good thoughts, good feelings, and good habits. So, if we take care of our health, we'll be able to do much more. If health is lost, something is lost, Swami says. If character is lost, everything is lost. So, therefore, taking care of our health is equally important. The members of the teaching staff must move among themselves as brothers and sisters. Students become aware of differences and rivalries between their teachers. Of course, differences are inevitable. On any issue, when there are different points of view and they are discussed, deliberated, it will be found that we will perhaps come to some middle ground, which will perhaps take care of all concerns. And to do that is what the teaching community needs to be, so that the final end is useful. They should not pollute mutual relations, hinder the progress of the institution, and affect adversely the processes of teaching and learning. Be punctual and regular for classes, prayers, and other designated activities in the department or the campus or the college or school. Teachers should not discriminate students. They may belong to different castes, gender, language, region, religion, nationality. Without bias or favor or malice, we should be able to treat all students equally and without discrimination, deal with them. So before I go into professional duties of a teacher, uh, just wanted to check, is everything clear and audible, what I have shared till now? Mukundan sir?
Yes, sir. It was clear, sir.
So I now move into, see, these are general guidelines of Bhagwan. Now I want to get into the nitty-gritty of teaching. See, when we enter a classroom, we have very practical issues which we need to deal with. So teachers have to be lifelong students. See, today, 21st century students, learners have certain characteristics. We must recognize what are those characteristics. They must have problem solving capability, analytical capability, critical thinking, innovation, creativity, and they should be lifelong learners. See, if students have to be lifelong learners, first teachers should become lifelong learners. What we studied in our student days, those subjects may not be relevant in today's society. So therefore, we need to keep ourselves abreast with the latest developments and be lifelong students. We should be engaged not merely in study, but also immersed in practical. Any subject, please look around how we can apply this subject in our day-to-day life, and that kind of an orientation we have to provide to the students. Because as teachers, if we do it, then students will feel like emulating you. I shall be the ideal student my students can emulate. This must be the motto inspiring every teacher. Teachers should prepare well for their lessons in class. We need not be a syllabus covering teacher. There was once a very interesting conversation which took place. We had invited the Pro-Vice Chancellor of a university to address our students and faculty. And there was this very distinguished professor of our university. He asked him a question. Sir, how is it or why is it the students, when they come to the school or to the college, they walk and come, but when they return, they run and go? So he said, I will give you this illustration from my own life. He says, one day I was sitting in the teacher's faculty room, and one of my colleagues returned from class. And, he just expressed loudly, he said, today I have finished off Gandhi. So this, his colleague was so intrigued. He said, Gandhi was the embodiment of ahimsa, and this man has finished off Gandhi. I mean, why did he feel like finishing off such a harmless and a man of ahimsa? So he said, sir, why did you do that? He said, if I don't finish Gandhi today, how will I finish Nehru tomorrow? So Gandhi was a topic in the syllabus. Nehru was another topic. So he was so obsessed by finishing the syllabus. So a teacher should not be a covering personality. I covered my syllabus. Teacher needs to be a towering personality. So we have to prepare well for our lessons. Competence in the subject in terms of breadth of the subject, depth of knowledge, inspires students to respect us. And this will go a long way in nourishing value education in students. Once students develop that kind of knowledge, oh, so knowledgeable is my teacher, I can go and ask any subject and he will give me the right kind of advice. And once they develop that respect, then when you try to slip in some values, some principles of life, they will absorb it like blotting paper. So teachers should also be concerned with how well the students have grasped the lessons. So it's not enough just teaching them. Did they pick up what we wanted them to learn? See, it may look a little odd, the teacher is a role model, we are talking of all this, but these are Bhagwan's own words, his instructions, his guidance to the teachers in his own schools and colleges. He said, you must have a mechanism to assess whether your students have grasped the lessons, not in the final exam. There should be, when you look at your children and look at them in their eyes, you should be able to make out who has understood, who has not understood. So which subject has to be taught in which way for achieving your goals of education? Different subjects will require different kinds of approach. If it is a problem-solving paper, it will require one kind of approach. If it is a theoretical paper, it will have a different kind of approach. If it's a science, you may have to look at how you design and correlate the experiments with the concepts which you're talking of. Similarly, if you're teaching history, how do you make it alive for the students? Say the freedom struggle. Can you take them to that moment of India's history when we had that partition and how kind of sacrifices our leaders made, our freedom fighters made for that? So that is where, the teacher has to invest his time, and Swami is talking about it. There is a need for an interdisciplinary approach. Generally, we get into this mindset, oh, I am a history teacher, I am an economics teacher, or I am a science teacher, I am an accounts teacher. But Bhagavan says that for a student, life is interdisciplinary. In any situation, you will have to draw ideas from various disciplines. And therefore, today in organizations, for example, in the corporate world, they get people from all kinds of domains to provide that interdisciplinary perspective. A holistic perspective is becoming, for example, so important in corporate India that board of directors of the companies should have at least a woman director. Why? Because she brings a different kind of perspective that men will not have. So how you adopt this interdisciplinary approach, how you connect one subject with another subject, teacher also should understand it. Then they can bring out those interlinkages in the discharge of their duties in a class. Teacher must come down to the level of the student while imparting lessons. We may be a PhD, we may be a very qualified teacher, we may say, I've got 40 years experience as a teacher, but if your student is not able to grasp what you have taught, then somewhere you have missed the bus. So the teaching should not be just to impress, but it should be able to inspire the students. And in this context, we must remember that in a classroom, there will be different kinds of teachers. There will be students, there will be slow learners, and there will be advanced learners. If you focus only on the advanced learners, then the slow learners will be left behind. They will get demotivated, demoralized. They'll think that they are good for nothing. If you focus only on slow learners, then the advanced learners think that there is no challenge in the class. So how do you provide a balanced way of training to the students and have special activities for the advanced learners and special tutorial help for the slower learners so that both of them can progress according to their caliber? Along with subjects taught, teachers should teach moral conduct, spiritual knowledge, which must be embedded in each lesson. And this is what in our organization, the Sathya Sai Vidyavahini program has taken, the curriculum of 8th standard, 9th standard of various schools, and they have tried to embed how in every class you can bring in my own university, whether I would teach first year undergraduate students or final PG students, I used to face this tremendous challenge where apart from the subject, they wanted to hear something about our founder chancellor. So I invented a 2-minute mini satsang in a class. So somewhere in between related to what we are discussing, I would bring in a small anecdote from my own experience or from experience of others whom I am acquainted with or I have read about, and they would be so supremely satisfied. So to impress upon the students on moral conduct, spiritual knowledge in every lesson, that is something which has to be planned, that has to be scheduled in the class of whatever 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever we have. While teaching, cover only the subject. And this is one advice which Swami is giving. Don't waste time in class. Don't talk about, see, sometimes there'll be very, special students, they don't want to study the lesson. So they will take us on a tour and a detour to various other areas. So teach, focus on the subject, because otherwise you will not be doing justice to the opportunity of interacting in the class. Don't talk about extraneous topics. Don't discuss in class about individual doubts. So little bit of doubts you can clarify. But supposing if you find that a person is not able to understand, then handle their doubts separately out of the class individually. This is Bhagwan's advice, to us. Don't tell them, I don't have time. Even if you are busy, if you don't have time, if you're busy, tell them, this is what I practiced. Because, he has a doubt or she has a doubt. If at that moment you don't address it, it will keep piling up and they will lose their confidence. So therefore, if you are busy, tell them, can you come at such time, and picks up a mutual time, and that will be, the best way of handling individual doubts. Teachers must keep themselves abreast with the fundamentals and the latest developments of the discipline. So you must be current. How you keep yourself current is your lookout. The new education policy is a multidisciplinary approach to education. So keeping yourself abreast with the latest developments in your domain and revising your curricula. In our university, we have fixed it that at least once in 3 years, minimum, we will, if not earlier, we will revise the curricula. So keep your students, because at some point of time, otherwise, like today we say that it's not that engineers in India are unemployed. See, that is a small problem. You can create a jobs. But the bigger problem is that the engineers are unemployable. See, that is a much bigger problem for the society. So keeping yourself abreast with what is happening across the country, across the world, that's a very, very important duty of every teacher. Teachers must not teach only answers to questions which are likely to come in the exam. Say, especially when you're preparing your student or the board examinations, oh, these are the important questions and these are the likely questions, and therefore you teach only from that answer. Every topic given in the curriculum must be taught and taught fully, because that is the foundation. If you miss out at that particular stage, at some later point in the student's life, they will realize that there was a gap and my teacher did not do justice. So don't miss out on teaching whatever has been put in the subject design. You can do more, but you should not leave out, especially during the COVID period. We found that every state board of education compromised on the syllabus, and when the students came to the university, they had immense challenges. Even doctors, for example, they had got their MBBS degree, but they lacked practical knowledge, and therefore they were, in some of the hospitals, they offered to work at least for 1 year without salary just to get that practical knowledge. So every subject in the curriculum should be taught fully, topics should be taught fully. And these are not my words, these are all quotations that I am taking from our Code of Conduct of Faculty, which is the main document for all our faculty in the university, and drawn from discourses of Bhagwan Baba and his interaction with the teachers. Give special time in your timetable. If you are in the university, if you're guiding PhD students for research, allocate special time for them. Now, one of the important duties as a teacher is to evaluate. So Swami has given us very interesting and very valuable insights on how we should go about our assessment also. This is something which I learned very young in my own teaching career. Teach a lot to students, give them your best. But when it comes to examination, be balanced and follow a simple approach which does not horrify students in the examination hall. So, yes, we want to assess them, but do not create a horror experience for them in the examination system hall. Adopt the middle path and avoid extremes. See, this is a very important advice which Bhagwan gives. Once I remember when I was warden of our hostel in the university, there was this huge difference of opinion. Should we have chili in the food? If it is there, it is creating health problems for students, or should we not have chili? So especially, students from Andhra, they used to miss if you don't put adequate amount of chili or good amount of chili in the food. So one day I was one-to-one interacting with Bhagwan, and I asked him, Swami, is there a requirement to put chili in the food? And he says, anything in moderation is good. So this is a general principle of life, both for spiritual life as well as the teaching profession. Adopt the middle path, avoid extremes. Be strict in your evaluation, but don't be cruel. Be liberal, but do not indulge the students in assessments, because if you indulge them at some point of time, say for example today, there are certain degrees of our country. I remember once Vice Chancellor of a medical university, he was saying, see, our MBBS degree is not recognized outside the country. So we need to adopt practices. Today, for example, for the management program in our country, we have the NBA recognition. And this is in conformity with the norms which have been fixed internationally under the Washington Accord. So if you indulge the students, give them marks when they don't deserve, at some point of time, when they go to industry, people will not accept. When they go abroad, they will say, no, your degree is not worth it. The certificate you hold does not really qualify you for the next higher level, whatever you are aspiring for. So therefore, this advice is personally given by Bhagwan to his teachers. Then we come to a very important point. He says, in preparing question papers for examinations, teachers should observe certain rules. The question should relate to what has been taught to the students. He said many a time the questions which are taught in the class or in the school or in the college and the questions which are coming in the final examination are totally unrelated. And the students become agitated, it relates to protests, it leads to riots. So he says, this should not happen. Questions should relate to what students have been taught or to the prescribed syllabi. This will avoid misbehavior on the part of the students. Examiner should also know the answers for the questions. So don't ask questions to the students when you don't know the answer yourself. So this is an advice of Bhagwan. But do not lower standards in question paper setting. You should know, if you dilute the quality, the standard of the school, the standard of the university will go down. It takes years to build a reputation. It will take a few minutes just to lose that reputation. So in evaluation, be rigid in marks, but do not give grace marks. Show your grace in teaching. If supposing somebody is a slower learner, give more time. Find innovative ways of reaching out, but not in giving just marks. Then the students become lazy and they will not put effort. Teachers should be impartial in evaluation. There should not be a feeling among the students, oh, this teacher likes this particular student, irrespective of what that student has written in the exam. They have been given marks. I have written the same answer, but I'm not being given the marks. So this kind of discrimination should not be perceived by the students. So this is his advice. And then we are very good at conducting exam, but do you give the feedback on the assessment at regular intervals in quick time? At least 15 days after the examination, the results should be shared, and you should not postpone examination dates. Whatever is the pre-announced schedule, it should be adhered to. If you're assigned any confidential work for final exams, strive to maintain the time schedule in the assessment so that the results can be declared in time. So these are some on guidelines on evaluation. In universities, research has become so very important today. These are some guidelines on research. Cultivate discrimination in the promotion of research. Unless the results of research are applied in practice, it will be an expensive futility. When Dr. Abdul Kalam visited the country Israel, which is, in the midst of a war today, he observed and he reported this fundamental difference between that country and India. He said, supposing there is a bomb blast somewhere in India, rest assured, next day it will be headlines in newspapers of our country. But here is a country where every other day, almost every day, there is some bomb blast or somewhere everywhere. But that news is on the maybe 7th page, 8th page, some 1-inch news will be there. What they project on the headlines is some latest innovation, latest creativity of their citizens. That is the headlines in Israel. See, that's why Israel became such a powerful country in the world today. So we must focus on the application of the research, how it is going to be beneficial for society. In fact, Government of India, gives, it's not given in writing, but it's an invisible instruction to all committee members and chairmen of committee who sanction research grants, that please do not sanction research grants for research projects which have no relevance to society, no application in society. Research should not be for boosting one's name and fame. It is for promoting public well-being. Be concerned with the harmful effects of research pursuits undertaken by you. So pursue that kind of a research which will have beneficial impact for society. And on funding, he says, be judicious in the use of funds, irrespective of the source of funding. Don't think, this is a public grant I've got, say, from the Department of Biotechnology or from the UGC, and therefore I need not have to, be so strict. Whether it's your personal money or your college money or some public sanctioning authorities' money. Be judicious. If you need the money, if you need to be spent, spend it. So these are some of Bhagwan's very important guidelines from the code of conduct, from our university's document. And there's one last slide, because we have now reached our 1 hour duration. So we will have some question answers. And after that, if time is there, then I will come back to this presentation. It's a little, what our founder, Chancellor said, I have already shared. Our current Chancellor, Mr. Chakravarti, also has some thoughts on it. I have an audio clip of it. If time is there, I will discuss it. Otherwise, we now move on to the question and answer segment of our. So, is that okay, Mukundan sir?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I request all sisters and brothers to use this opportunity to clarify our points, clarify our thoughts. And I request Sai Teja, whoever raising hand for asking question, please unmute that mic. Sairam.
Yes, sir. They can unmute themselves, sir. I given permission.
Very good, very good. Please come forward with your questions.
Sairam sir, I'm Dr. Ramya. So I'm working as assistant professor in Sri Venkateswara Institute of Medical Sciences in Tirupati.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so what I observe with my students is that slowly the trend is changing. We have a huge generation gap. Though I'm only 30, but I find them that for them discussing among themselves in a class, it's okay. For them to interrupt a class is okay. And many times they take their own decisions. I feel the discipline part of students is coming down. And that way the amount of teaching we can impart to them is less. So how do we bridge this generation gap with the current so-called Gen Z, they say? What do we do to help impart our messages as well as Swami's values to them again?
Yeah. So, as I told you, for Bhagwan Baba, discipline was so important. That's why he said discipline is the medium of instruction. And as an administrator for over 20 years in the university, I felt that discipline is the foundation of all excellence. And if you are able to see, especially at the university level, they have reached an age where it's not like when they were, in the 4th standard or 5th standard, where, you say something and then immediately they have to, they accept it, or they have no choice but to accept it. So my own experience in dealing with university students is that if you can explain to them the importance of how discipline in life will enhance their own achievement as well as their capability, over a period of time, for them to fulfill whatever is their potential, that will be of immense help. See, for example, Baba was to give this little anecdote. He said, suppose you want to play football. Now, there are certain rules of the game. There's a boundary, and there are goalposts, and there's a rule that you must kick the ball, but you should not touch the ball with the hand. See, supposing you remove those rules, etc., then you don't enjoy the game of football. And taking a cue from that, I would quote this example from the founder, head of state of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And so one day, one of his successors, the Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was traveling in a car and with one of the military officials. And this gentleman, was narrating his experience, how Muhammad Ali Jinnah was one day traveling, and he came across this railway crossing. And so the gates were closed and they were waiting for the train to pass by. And suddenly somebody recognized that it is our head of state. And the person sitting in the car with him immediately gave instructions that, do you not know that our head of state is in the car? And so open the railway crossing gate. And immediately Jinnah corrected him. He said, no, this is not right. Let us wait for the train to go. And after the train has passed, then only we will cross. This is the rule which is applicable for every citizen of the country, and it's applicable to me also. So he was narrating this to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and they came to a red light on the road, and the car stopped. And Bhutto said, why? He asked the driver, why did you stop? He said, sir, the red light. He said, forget about the red light, go ahead. And the driver just drew ahead. And now we know that how Zulfikar Ali Bhutto met his end. I'm not saying it is because of this reason that it met. But what I'm saying is, when you follow discipline, discipline will protect you. As our saying says, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita. When we follow Dharma, see, what is the Dharma for student? To follow discipline when the teacher is giving certain direction, certain instruction. Their Dharma is to maintain the decorum and follow the teacher. Similarly, what is the Dharma of a teacher? The teacher has to do the best and see that the students come up well. So from that angle, when both student and teacher do their Dharma properly, then both their rights are protected. Otherwise, both their rights will be in danger. So we need to, I have interacted, especially in Bal Vikas and EHV across the world and in India, whether it is a 5-year-old or a 20-year-old, you need to explain to them, and Generation Z needs to be told in a way they will understand. So that is something which is a skill. We need to cultivate it. And I'm sure with our experience, we will grow in that skill and it will have its own impact.
Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you. Mr. Satyanarayana has raised a hand.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam, sir.
I am a teacher working in a school as an English assistant. I have doubts, sir.
Yes,
How
sir.
to change the mindset of the slow learners who are unable to concentrate on the topics in the class, though we teach them with moral values and taking Balavikas classes regularly. Sorry.
Yeah, when I started my teaching career, I had an immense challenge because my final year undergraduate students were such that whether they get 20% or 40% or 60% or 80%, it didn't make any difference to them. So I felt immensely challenged, and I just was starting my teaching career. So your question, I fully understand. But what I did was I created in them an aspiration that they should not be satisfied for where they are, and they should be. And so when you give them that kind of raise their vision, see, sometimes they may not have that kind of insight of what they are capable of. So you encourage them. There may be some aspect of their own life, say they may be good in music, or they may be good in service, or they may be good in some particular aspect. So you praise them a little, and it gives them, oh, this particular teacher loves me a lot. So that is one way in which, you inspire them to take more interest in academics. Yeah, for example, Swami was once in the interview room, and this was when I was in school. It's a great inspiration to me. And it so happened that a couple, husband and wife, were in the interview room, and the mother complained to Swami, Swami, my son, he's a small fellow. I don't think he was 8 years old or 10 years old. He says he does not give any attention to studies. And then Swami called this 10-year-old boy and said, I love students who study well. This is a statement which he made. I was far away studying in a school in Kolkata, and the state president of our West Bengal Sathya Sai organization, Mr. Sathya, he shared this anecdote with us. And I felt so inspired. I said, if this is what Swami loves, then I will study well and make Swami proud. And that was the inspiration I got, and it led to my excelling in academics when I joined the university. Right from my school days also it happened. So what I mean to say is that slow learners, first you must understand what is it which has led to it. Sometimes their previous education may have been disturbed, like they have been shifting schools, or they were studying in a rural setting and the teachers did not teach the subject well, or there may be some personal problem at home which is affecting the mind of the student. So what is it which is really troubling them? And see, the greatest asset or weapon in the hands of any teacher is love. So first you open your heart and express, your heartfelt love for that individual child who has come to you, and whom you recognize is in such a desperate situation. And then we pray in our heart of hearts for that child. And such selfless prayers also have got tremendous power. You pray for your own selfish interest, it has got one kind of impact. But when a teacher prays selflessly, I will share with you, there was this student, one of our colleagues, he was a part-time faculty, he was sharing with me once. So this student was very afraid of his subject. He went to his teacher, sir, please pray. I'm surely going to fail in this subject. Please pray for me. And the teacher said, surely I'll pray for you. And then the results came. And this boy, he passed in that teacher's subject, which he was so afraid of. And he came to his teacher, sir, I made a mistake. Hey, what was the mistake? I asked you to pray for me only for your subject. He failed in some other subjects. He said, sir, I should have asked you to pray for me for all my subjects. And I would, just as I passed in your subject, I would have passed in all subjects. So, see, the bond of a teacher and a student is very personal, very intimate. And the general guideline that I would like to give is pour your love, and you may need to give some extra time. Sometimes we may have to even quietly talk to their parents and see what is it, how the child is conducting at home, or is there any problem at home. So once you get a complete picture, see, when I was, for example, the principal director of our campus in Bangalore, I made it a point that I must interact with all parents of my students. And over a span of 12 years, my strike rate was 99%. Our students come from all over the country and from all backgrounds. And I was very particular that I should meet them. And sometimes I didn't even know the language. And I would ask our student to interpret what I'm saying and interpret what their parents are saying, so that, we could have a very good conversation. So I benefited immensely by knowing the background, the family background from which our students come. And that provided me tremendous insight of how to handle each student. So this is my suggestion for your consideration.
Right.
Thank you.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam.
Sir, I am Satyanarayana, working as a teacher in government school, Visakhapatnam, and also
Yes,
convener Chittivalasa Samiti.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I am implementing Balavikas syllabus in my school and getting good results and well disciplined. My children can chant all Bhagavad Gita slokas, so many. And also, I am very proud of the Balavikas syllabus implementing in my school. But I have a small doubt, sir.
Tell me.
It is up to my school, they are getting good results and maintaining good discipline and also continuing Balvika syllabus. After leaving my school, that we have only up to 8th class, sir, in our school. After leaving my school, they are going to another school. But this much of discipline and this much of syllabus there is no in another school, so they are facing some problems. And how can I solve this problem, sir?
So now, see, one thing, firstly, I must congratulate you for taking Bal Vikas, and you're saying that your own students are benefiting from it. I remember in Sanatan Sarthi, I was reading, there was this lady, Lawrence Borrow. She has written a lot of books, including an encyclopedia on Bhagwan's teachings. So she writes in that she attended the first international conference on education and human values in Puttaparthi. And in that discourse, Bhagwan says that those who teach human values, they need not do any other sadhana in life. What a statement Bhagwan has made for all of us. So congratulations for doing that. And see, it will always happen that as long as the students are with us, we are like farmers. We are sowing the seeds. And when we sow the seeds, the fruits may not come immediately. So fruits will come maybe later in life. So for example, for most of my teaching career, I literally taught only undergraduate students, though I have taught postgraduate students as well. But much of my life was with the undergraduate students. And these students, when they went to post-graduation, when they went onto society, and they occupied, top positions in companies all over country as well as all over the world, they come back and they feel so grateful for what you have done at a stage when they were not yet mature even to recognize. So one way of doing this was my practice, when I said teach more, examine less. And many of the public, especially very good schools in metro cities, they follow this, what should I say, strategy, to get good results, is that they start some kind of a club, say space club, or say mathematics club or something like that. And though they are studying, say, in the 8th standard, the maths that will be taught to them in that club will be of the 10th standard. When they are in the 10th standard, they will be taught maths of 11th standard. So, therefore, when they go to competitive exams like IIT entrance, etc., they're able to crack it because of the kind of grounding they have got on a voluntary basis outside the college or school hours when they were younger. So you could have some extra activities in the school, say what is there in the 10th class. If that kind of a thing can be taken up as a club activity in your own school, it will prepare them in advance. So this is one practical tip which many schools in metropolitan cities are following, which you could consider even if it's a government school, provided your administration, provides and your teachers are allowed to do it, and parents are allowed, permit their children to be in the school for a little longer than what is the regular expectation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for valuable suggestion. Sairam.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam, sir.
Sai Ram.
I am Mahesh from Sathya Sai School, Tamil Nadu.
Yes, please. Go
Saram
ahead.
sir. Saram sir. So as Swami said, the
Sairam, sir.
medium of instruction is, as Swami said, the medium of instruction is discipline.
Yes.
What kind of, I am not telling punishment, how can we correct the children when they are doing mistakes, sir? One point. Second
Yeah.
point, whenever I speak with my colleagues or other teachers who are working in the government sectors also, they are facing a lot of difficulties in bringing the children in a proper way, sir. And third point, please suggest any books to follow Swami's books to understand his teachings. All its teachings are very broad, sir, but towards the teaching community and for students. So please, sir, these three things, sir. Sairam, sir.
Sai Ram. So, to start with the last question which you asked is the easiest. So, Swami has written an exclusive treatise on education, Vidya Vahini. It will give you a full insight of what his expectation is from education. Apart from that, our organization also has brought out booklets. Maybe Mukundan sir may be able to, I have personally, but I don't have copies to share. They have compiled various discourses and brought out exclusively Swami's directions for teachers. They are very valuable. I use them whenever I want to refresh my memory. I use them also as my reference book. There is a very good website. It's the best online website for doing search engine on Sai literature. It is called sairhythms.org. I think, and then you just basically it's on devotional songs, bhajans, etc. But if you go down, there is a discourse search. So if you go to that tab and you give any particular topic which you have in mind, and you give that, and throughout all the Sai literature that is published, it will throw up all the discourses or writings of Bhagwan on that particular topic. So you could, read it and sort of educate yourself on that. So these are some of my suggestions on the books front. Then coming to the discipline, see, the first thing, I was reading, for example, one publication. Somebody in one of the IIMs had done this research on why do teachers not want to talk about values to their students. So one of the observations or feedback, research insights of that study was that teachers feel, see, I myself don't follow, then how I can tell my students to follow? So Swami has given specific instructions on this. He said, even if you don't follow, you have a right to tell. Because of the position you occupy, you have a right to tell the students, and you must tell the students. So that is the first thing. But he also has emphasized elsewhere that when you yourself practice it, such kind of teachers will have great command and respect when they tell. Others tell will have one kind of impact. When teachers who practice it themselves, they will have. Then it's a question of having some kind of a common minimum program, because it's not just yourself, it is also an ecosystem. So in your own school, if the teachers, and I find it's not just in Sathya Sai schools or Sathya Sai University. I find very disciplined environment even in private educational institutions, and the head of the institution maintains that discipline. Because they maintain that discipline, the university or the college has earned such a good name over a period of time. So therefore, discipline is the foundation on which excellence can be raised. If India doesn't become a disciplined country, there is no question of being Viksit Bharat by 2047. Even by 2097, we will not be Viksit Bharat. We will not be a developed country. We need discipline. The country needs discipline, and discipline is the foundation of excellence. And therefore, even if it is challenging, we need to develop, and maybe there, more kind. I think maybe the second session, which is coming up, how do we mold students as role models? I think in that we will discuss in much more, little more detailed way, how at the individual level, how at the school or college level, we can develop certain practices which will be of assistance to the students to cultivate discipline.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Sairam, sir.
Sairam. So maybe one last question. Is that okay, Mukundan sir? I mean,
Yes,
given the time.
Yes, sir.
So anybody else would like to ask? We can also have in another session also, which we are going to have, any queries which you have, we could also raise it. And if I get the questions before, maybe I can integrate into my presentation in the next session as well.
Sir, and with sir's permission, request all sisters and brothers, if there are more questions, please share these questions in our teachers group, WhatsApp groups, so that these questions will be shared with sir, so that sir will be answering these questions either through the group or in the next session. Sairam.
Sairam, sir, please share this PPT, sir.
It will be shared because it is recorded and it will go to YouTube also, and the YouTube version will be shared with all.
In fact, this is a public document. If you visit the website of our university, ssihl.edu.in, there is a tab on top called Resources. So if you click that tab, you can go to accreditation. And if you go to that accreditation page, there is this code of conduct for faculty. So all the ideas which I have shared, I have just taken from that particular document. The ideas are from a much bigger book, but it's available publicly, and the PPT is also going to be available.
Sir, we will go to the concluding session, sir.
Yes, sir. Kindly conclude.
So I request Brother Suresh, State President of Tamil Nadu South, to do the Thanksgiving as well as the conclusion of this session. Sairam, Suresh.
Om Shri Sairam, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan. We thank Sri Sanjay Sahni sir, who could enlighten all the teachers on the most relevant aspects of today's teaching profession. Many messages of Bhagavan have been explained clearly, and I thank you once again, sir, for sharing your precious time with all the teachers and the teaching faculty across the states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Sir, I feel truly honored personally to propose this vote of thanks. I was your student 34 years back, and now I got this golden opportunity to thank you on this platform. Truly, sir, you have been an inspiration for all of us. And right now, what you have conveyed to all the teachers would only explain how you were molded personally by Bhagwan. And if you, all the teachers follow the same steps, probably the answers to their questions will get automatically resolved. Everything is available and told by Bhagwan to all the teaching community earlier. We just need to have faith in his words and follow his dictum. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for this golden opportunity. And this is going to set a stage that henceforth, every month or every fortnight, every state will start conducting such programs where dignitaries across the states will address the teaching community and give them a lot of inspiration. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. From my side, I feel blessed that I got a chance to reflect on what all Swami has told us. And something which I could not do today was the last slide, where for about 8 minutes, our current Chancellor, Chakravarti sir, has expressed his expectations as a student from the teacher. So when a teacher joined our university in 2017, he expressed to him, and these are wonderful thoughts. When I shared the PPT, Mukundan sir, if all could hear it independently, and they are very, very valuable. For lack of time, I could not make everybody hear it today, but my request is please hear it. He has beautifully summarized of how a teacher needs to be in Bhagwan's lines in the 21st century.
Sairam said.
Sairam sir, Sairam.
And we thank.
Sairam sir.
Yes, Suresh, please. Suresh.
Sairam sir, I didn't prompt any question or anything.
No, Suresh, we can thank all the participants, Suresh.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sairam, I would like to thank all the participants. In fact, whatever you have gained today will be truly an eye-opener. You can convey these invaluable sessions which we are organizing to your colleagues too, and request them to join in the future online satsangs.
Sairam sir.
Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, so I take leave from all of you. Thank you for being together on this wonderful Sunday morning.
Sairam, thank Brother Sai Teja for coordinating all the IT work. Sairam, sir. Sairam, sir.
Sairam, Sairam, sir.
Thank you, Sairam. Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sairam, sir.
Thank you, Sairam. Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you, Sairam, sir.
Sairam, thank you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sairam. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam.
Thank you, Sairam. Sairam. Sairam to all, Sairam.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam, sir. Thank you.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam to all. Just share the message of this group, this meeting, how it was useful for you in the group so that those who are absent, they will be motivated to attend next time. Sairam, thank you.
Sairam, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sairam, once again, thank you all and pray to Bhagwan to bless you all.
Sairam, sir. Sairam.
We We are closing.
Sairam, sir.
We are
Sairam.
closing the session with your permission.
Sairam, sir.
Thank
Sairam, sir.
you.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam, sir.
Thanks, Sairam.
Saiteja,
Sir, Sairam, sir.
we've closed the session.
Okay, sir.
Sairam, sir. అంతేనా